6 guests are Stan Freberg, director for the Center of Short-Lived Phenomena, Robert Cyprian, horn of the John Lennon-Yoko Ono interview, and Bob Rosengarten and the orchestra. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick Cavett.
Faster. Sorry. Oh. Why didn't anyone wake me? I didn't know these people were out here. Say, I'm going to go right through these cards that you filled out standing in line while passing around the stubby pencil that we supply. Are you going to sing tonight? No. I sang once or twice on the show, and there was not enough of the right kind of response and too much of the other kind. No, I sang an old song I remembered as a kid called I Learned About Women from Her, and I never thanked the people who sent me the lyrics to it and the people who actually sent me the old record of Frank Crummett singing it. That's the name of the man. And the person who said, I think the lyrics might be by Kipling, and someone from Harvard sent me a letter saying, how could you say such a stupid thing about such a dumb song and pretend it was written by Kipling? And I also want to thank the lady from Iowa who sent me the lyrics, which are by Kipling. Turns out they are, Harvard. What do you New Yorkers have against Central Park? Not even a high wall, unfortunately. No, it's not bad. You can go there during the daytime. Bobby and Sue want to know, why not grow a mustache? Go ahead. Dear Dick, last night I had a dream about you. I dreamed you were blowing into my wife's ear. What do you think this means? Well, there's probably a logical explanation for that. Probably there was hot soup in her ear. I don't know. I don't understand that. Can't be bothered with your dreams. In a self-photo booth, which button do you press? Short, medium, or large? Oh. Depends on what I'm taking a picture of. Dear Mr. Smart Alec. Dear Mr. Cavett, what other great assets do you have besides sex appeal, good looks, a great body, and a great sense of humor? The modesty not to read this on the air. The fact that it was written by one of the guys in the band takes some of the fun out of it, but... Dear Dick, hi, how are you? Who is your favorite sex pot? The person who wrote the previous card. Marilyn from Brooklyn. Let's see you, Marilyn. Where are you? Oh, hello. Gee. Well, it's better than we usually get up in that section. What do you have to do to become a regular member of the audience? Eat lots of roughage and an occasional bran muffin. And answered that question before. Please, I can't wait for laughter. How come you dress neatly when I know you're a slob like me? It's happened. Cary Grant is in our audience, right? You've been deceiving your audience with all those jokes about New York. We walked around Times Square last night, and we didn't see any of those ladies who do nasty things out on the street. They don't do them on the street. That's your problem. Well, never mind that. New York's becoming known for those ladies and nothing else. What requirement must a girl have for a job on your staff? None of the girls on my staff have jobs. Not to be confused with the previous car. Do you plan to attend the first annual... What is this? It's written in crayon. Do you plan to attend the first annual New York Erotic Film Festival? Only the short subjects. Now, that doesn't mean anything. And I would love to know why the people laughed who laughed. Because it doesn't mean a thing. Can you explain why you laughed at that? Lady blindfolding herself and leaving. Here's a one... Now, this is a kind of question I like. Is that a firehouse across the street? Now, there's a big garage across the street that says firehouse on it, and it's got the one with the big red truck and the bell and the siren. No, that's a man who sells good humors to people who are hard of hearing. Of course it's a firehouse. My girlfriend threatened to send me a Dear John letter. What does this mean? Fallen in love with her plumbing fixtures. I don't know what a Dear Dickie, I am a student of Eastern literature. You've got to get in sync with me. I can't work if we're laughing during the next question. I'm a student of Eastern literature. Do you know what a haiku is? It is a poem with only 17 syllables in it. I wrote one for you. Through the air, swiftly, a cheese laughs. A bird is ill and winter is coming. That's from Janet. Janet? That's a cheese laughs. I have a haiku for you. Through the theater softly, the ushers pad. On silent feet, a door opens and Janet is ejected. Well, that was fun. Who are your haiku, indeed? Who are your favorite authors? What books do you like to read? Thackeray and William James are my favorite authors. What books do you like to read? What I like to read is Diary of a French Nurse and Weekend in Copenhagen. Do you enjoy working in front of a live audience? Yes, but there's something to be said for this as well. See, I can't say that. That's too dirty. This thing is getting out of hand. So New York is nothing but a... yeah. How do you rate the girls on 44th and Lexington? Neatness, originality, and clarity of presentation, I guess. It's all people... Who was that man who attacked me in front of your studio? That was one of our new pages. When we said show people their seats, he didn't understand, and he was really a curious man. How long can you tread water? Don't hint, madam. It's the second door on the left as you... This is ridiculous. I've got to get out of here. Stan Freberg is here. Was done all those brilliant genius commercials and various things throughout the years. And a man who's a director of the Center of Short-Lived Phenomena, Robert Citrin, who is... they study incredible things that happen, in everything from the frog wars in Malaysia, you remember, to islands that disappear and appear suddenly. They're connected with the Smithsonian. He has some great film for us. And John Lennon and Yoko Ono, in the parts of the show that you didn't see the other night, which we ran over with and didn't have time to do in the air, and you'll see all that right after we come back from this. We'll be back. The other night I did a show with John Lennon and Yoko Ono, and there's an enormous amount of curiosity about them, and anyone who's had that much celebrity and that much press and all of those, the various lives that John Lennon has gone through in the last few years. And a lot of people were curious about Yoko, and we taped a show with them, and it was going so well, and the audience had a lot of questions they wanted to ask them that we went on, and there were some other segments too. This is one that was not in the show. It's just a segment. It isn't the questions, I don't believe. But later, John answers some questions about his songwriting and the rumor that Paul was dead, and an interview in the Village Voice that made him angry. But as we came out of the segment that you won't see into the one that you will now see, I had just been talking to Yoko about the people in the black bags. This was an idea that she had. They once gave an interview in black bags and freaked out the press. Freaked out is an expression John doesn't use. I thought that was one of the refreshing things about him, is he doesn't use all of those tired old vocabulary words like that. But anyway, here again are John Lennon and Yoko Ono, or Yoko Ono and John Lennon. 6 seconds, or John Oko and Yono Lennon. Here they are. Okay. Yoko, is there anything that I didn't grasp about the bags?
No, I was just saying that I stood in Trafalgar Square in London, you know, wearing that bag before I met John, and I was thinking that if everybody wore this bag, then there wouldn't be any racial war, things like that. And those days I was sort of really... a bit obsessive about things like that, and I was thinking, oh, well, I should go, you know, in front of White House or something and wear a bag, and if I get shot or something, maybe the whole world would become peaceful, you know, somebody has to, or whatever, you know, things
Another
like
of their crazy ideas was if all the world leaders, just before they met, took their trousers down, you know, for the peace meeting, they might have a peace meeting. Or if all the soldiers, before they charge, have to take their trousers down, you see. Nobody could fight in that situation.
That's right.
Well,
you know, I had seriously thought of, before my face was known to a lot of people like it is now, I used to think, you know, the days you want to go out of the apartment or the house, but you don't want to run into anybody or talk to anybody. And I thought of wearing a sack over my head. Well, just put eyes in it. I don't know why people don't do that. But you can't. I found out it's illegal.
To wear a bag?
It's illegal to appear masked in public. I was told.
We've got some great footage in the film.
I have a mask now.
You have a mask now?
We've got great footage in our film we're just making with a man in a bag wandering all over London, you know. And most people don't take any notice of him. He's just walking around. It's fantastic. Yeah, there's another old bag walking. Some people have made a profession of it. I've seen 2 sacks doing comedy show on TV in America. And she was doing this in '61. The first bag event was done in '61. And since I've seen people... Like, there's a comedy team in America that wear sacks.
Who appear in sacks.
Yeah.
There's some that have been asked to, too. What was it the man yelled out in the audience in the Eamon Andrews show in England? I read several clippings in your album called Wedding. It said there were letters to the London Times and other papers saying, thank God someone in the audience finally yelled out to John Lennon what we've all been wanting to say to him. And then with... excellent British reporting. They didn't tell what it was.
Oh, I don't know what it was. We went on this show.
About that show.
It was a terrible show. Eamon Andrews, who's very nice, is the compere of the show. We went on, and then suddenly we were doing a peace campaign, and suddenly the audience started shouting all sorts of abuse at us, you know. And we were thinking, what's going on? You know, it's like now we're just talking. Suddenly the audience starts shouting, "Get your hair cut," and you know, long hairs, go back to where you came from, all that kind of jazz, you know. And they were shouting, the Yehudi Menyon was on there. We're discussing peace, and the Yehudi Menyon goes, "Sometimes it is necessary to kill." And it was a really freaky show, and we were horrified, and the audience was sort of calling names. I'd forgotten what they said. We were just, I was speechless. We were terrified, you know. And I thought they were going to come and attack us. And
was this...
People like you know, we fought the war for you, and all that old jazz, al-cap crap, you know.
Yes. Was this before or after you had spent your week in bed with all that publicity?
That was,
after, probably.
Because that set a lot of people on edge. But I don't know what they thought.
The same guy, Eamon Andrews, had us, after we'd done one of the bed events in Amsterdam or Toronto, had us on his show, and he did the show from a bed. So he was nice, you know. He said, well, you know, he thought we were genuine in our demonstration for peace, but a lot of people say, well, we don't want you to demonstrate for peace that way. We want you to do it our way. You know, that's what usually upsets people. But we're individuals, and we like to do things that are more conceptual than anything else. You know, where the idea is more important than whatever you're doing or the painting. And that's how we like to do things. So we don't fit into most people's bags,
so to speak.
Well, nobody should fit into anybody else's bag. You know, we should all have.
All have our own bags.
You know.
But you know that when you did that week in bed, I don't know if everyone still knows exactly what happened. I'm sure people think that tremendously lurid things took place, and the press was, I think, expecting...
But the first time we did it in Amsterdam. You see, we were getting married. We knew we were going to get married, and we knew we were going to get chased by the press. And Yoko had always been doing things for peace. All her work was, like she said, she'd been standing in Trafalgar Square, and she'd done lots of different things for peace as an individual. And when she married me, I said, look, I'm not going to stand in Trafalgar Square. I'll get slaughtered, you know. So she wanted to work for peace. We had to sit round and think of something we could both do together. We were going to get married, and we knew we'd just seen Jackie Onassis and whatever, you know, Aristotle and that. And all the chasing, and we're not as big as them, but all that chasing that they had, and they couldn't get away. Even with all those millions, he couldn't get away. So we thought, we're going to be chased. So let's invite them round, you know. Let's use this occasion, instead of just saying, oh, whoopee, John and Yoko got married, the front page. There's no news in that. Let's use this, that we're going to be in the papers, let's use this space and just say peace instead. So what we did was we invited them to our so-called honeymoon. And they all thought we were going to make love in bed, you see, and all the press from all around the world came. And we opened our helpers opened the door, and they fighting to get in, you know, like this with the cameras. And then their faces dropped, we were sitting like angels saying, hello, peace, brother. And all their faces dropped, and we were just in bed. And we thought it was a great practical joke that most of the world's headline newspapers, especially the European and British, was, married couple are in bed. Whoopee. It makes a change.
It's a novelty.
Yeah.
But, you know, I really wonder about that, because we are actually pretty sort of square, nice old couple. I mean, sort of quiet and all that. And how did they ever think of that? You know, I mean,
Because we've done
I
two
can't
versions
imagine.
of
I
it.
think of you as Arthur and Catherine Murray.
That's very nice. I think of you and Ozzy and Harriet Clark.
You didn't have
Where's
two
Dick?
good
Where's
players.
Rick over there? Mom's
But
having
didn't
ice cream.
Pardon me. Didn't they get a Vice Squad out after one city,
Not for the bedding,
Amsterdam
no.
or somewhere, announced
Oh,
that
well,
the Vice Squad
yeah,
was going
when they heard we were going to
close your bed or
they
something?
thought it was going to be all that, you see, because people have such devious minds that mostly sort of have these strange ideas about our life, which is fairly normal, actually, in an abnormal situation. And so there was talk about that, but of course all we did was talk from bed. All we did was allow the repress in, because they're always asking to interview us, and instead of giving them 3 minutes, we just said you can have as long as you want, ask anything you want. You know, you always think there's something to hide. Well, ask anything, and we gave them all as much time as we want for 7 days from the time we started it to the time we ended it. And they asked us everything, and we talked to people from Czechoslovakia, reporters, Hungary, and all around the world. And we did a lot of communication with the young people in the east part of the world, people from Russia and everywhere. And we thought that was good to communicate with them and allow them to ask, even if it's what did you have for breakfast, over and over again. We answered everything they wanted to know.
Weren't you
And we
exhausted
didn't
at
do
the
it
end of
for
it?
Yeah.
money.
You didn't do it
like-
for money?
No, because
No.
our cap said that we did it for money.
Did it for
or
money.
whatever.
We didn't make any money on it. We made a documentary of that, which we might get some bread on now because it might go out. But up till now, people said we made money out of our peace events. We're probably quite a few dollars in the red from the peace events, but we don't care because that's what we think we ought to do.
Is it possible that you or any of the other three fellows could have financial problems the rest of your life?
Well, you can always get unlucky and turn into Mickey Rooney and have to work for your tax, you know, or Joe Louis. There's always that danger. But if your manager's all right, well, you're all right then, you know.
Hello.
Hi, Al.
Do you ever wish it hadn't all happened, John?
Well, I don't regret anything in my life, really, because I've met Yoko and I'm very happy with her. And I feel as though if I didn't go through all that I went through, I wouldn't be with Yoko now. So I don't regret the past. I was just trying to live for this moment. So I don't, you know, I once said, I wish I was a fisherman, meaning I wish I didn't have the kind of mind that makes me want to perform in public, whatever, make records, make films, always be working. I wish I was satisfied to just be peaceful and, you know, living. I thought fisherman was so easy, you know, you just get your breakfast out of the water, you eat it and you go to bed. It's a simple life.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have a sort of longing for that. I think everybody does. Like, I dream of us being an old couple on the south coast of Ireland or something. I remember when we were on Dick Cavett, you know. And being a nice old couple like that.
It's really a miracle that we met because, you know, I come from Tokyo and he comes from Liverpool. And, you know, as he says,
Mark Twain
we
was
wouldn't
wrong.
have had
The twain shall
Right.
The
meet.
twain met.
All right.
Yeah.
the
Excuse
wrong
us.
way.
We
yes.
will.
Excuse us. We then let the audience, who was sort of anxious to ask some questions of their own, ask John and Yoko some questions. And here is that. Are you ready? 8 seconds. That's a lifetime. First question is, why can't we get into it sooner? Here it is. John and Yoko, Mr. and Mrs. Lennon, I have an idea for a happening.
Oh.
Let's let the audience ask us anything that happens to be on its mind.
Wow, that's real crazy, Dick.
there's
I'd
a-
really like to do it.
Well,
Far out, man.
where's your nerve, baby? Oh, there's already a man in the aisle. How convenient. Yes.
I'd like to know how you write your songs and how you think your songs have progressed since you first started.
The man would like to know how I write my songs,
I prefer just
how you write your songs, and how the songs have progressed since
you first started.
you first started.
Well, in the bed, there's many ways, all the combinations you can think of, either sitting at the piano and having a word that you write a song around, or having a word and playing the guitar, or you have a guitar chord change. Any combination of that. The best ones are usually inspirational, which will just sort of come, you know, when you're not expecting it, and you just go and write it out almost in full. The earlier songs, in the early days, Paul and I, we wanted to be the Goffin and King of England, you know. Goffin and King were very big those days, and we used to want to be Buddy Holly and Goffin King, etc. And so we wrote pop songs with a kind of mind that that's a pop song, you know, like Bubblegum, and that's real life. And I used to write sort of in his own right, and the books I wrote then, like Spaniards in the Work, with one half of my brain, and the other half I sort of would churn out pop song. And then with the advent of Dylan and a few other interesting people I'd meet or hear about, I suddenly realized I was being silly and that I should put all my energy into writing the song, into the lyric. So then I transferred any writing ability I had completely to the songs, and the song lyric got better, and the structure of the words got better, and they became as important as the tune then. And then I think the songs are better. I've had a lot more experience than I had when I was 20. I'm older, and it's true you get more experience because there's just more time span, that's all. And so your songs get more experience, and there is a tendency for them to get a bit, you know, like you can rip them off easy. But I try not to write songs anymore unless I really want to. You know, I don't no longer have to, oh, the Beatles need an album, you and Paul better go and write 20 songs tomorrow kind of thing. I just write when I feel like, you know.
That must be nice. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Cool. Let's hear his gentleman right here. How have drugs affected your music writing?
Drugs have not affected my music writing any more than cornflakes, living in America, not living in America, going on tour, living with 4 men, living with 1 woman. The drugs were no more a help or a hindrance to creating, and I don't believe in creation, but to writing songs than any other experience I've had in life. None was more important, i.e. drugs are not more important than my environment. I think my environment is more important than any drugs or outside influence that came when I was a teenager. I think most of the things I write about are basic things that come from me that I've had all my life, you know.
Man on the aisle there.
Do you listen to much music now? And if you do, what do you listen to?
Do you listen to much music now, and if so, what?
Well, I think like most artists, they get less time for listening to other people's music. You can either be an artist or the audience. Audience is always listening to other people's music. Artists are always creating their own music. I spend more time creating it and listening to my own because that's what I'm involved in. I like people like Yoko, of course. I like Zappa and a few people, Dr. John, and I like some of the pop music. I can't think of it offhand. They're just odd records I like that come out. I still am a rock and roll fan of early Presley, early Jerry Lee Lewis and all those people. You know, that's the music I really love, is rock and roll.
Anyone have a question for Yoko, or a question you can ask Yoko through John? There's a lady there, or vice versa. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's no lady. This one.
Yell it out and I'll repeat it.
I want to know how you, as a woman, feel about overpopulation in the world and its relation to polluting the environment.
How does Yoko feel about overpopulation? As a woman, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I think the problem is not overpopulation as people believe it to be, but it's more of a balance of things. What, you know, like food, some part of the world there's wastage of food, and in some parts, you know, nobody has food. That kind of a balance, if that is solved, I don't think we would be worried so much about overpopulation.
I think it's a bit of a joke the way people have made this overpopulation thing into a kind of myth. I don't really believe it, you know. I think whatever happens will balance itself out and work itself out. It's all right for us all living saying, oh, well, there's enough of us, so we won't have any more. Don't let anybody else live. I don't believe in that. I think we've got enough food and money to feed everybody. And I think the natural balance, even though old people will last longer, I'm sure there's enough room for us, and some of them can go to the moon anyway.
You mean you think there's enough, if it were
I don't believe overpopulation, you know. I think that's just a kind of myth that the government have thrown out to keep your mind off Vietnam and Ireland and all the important subjects.
Oh, I think you're wrong about that.
Oh, I don't care.
Yes, gentleman there. He doesn't care.
It seems that a while back, as people followed you, you were really into peace at not at any cost, but just very peaceful. Peaceful means for revolution. And I read an article in Ramparts, and you were into violent revolution. And now...
I'm not.
Well, that's what it stated.
No, the article in Ramparts was basically about socialism, right? And I don't believe in violent revolution. Yoko stated it very well, which is violent revolutionaries are playing the same establishment game. I believe in some of the things Jerry Rubin and A.B. Hoffman have done, like the theatre in court kind of revolution. I believe in the revolution of happening, and that artists, Yoko says artists don't create. Any woman can create, a man can destroy with a Coke bottle, and an artist revalues. If I'm a revolutionary, or we're revolutionaries, we're revolutionary artists, not gunmen. I believe in the Black Panther original statement, the 10-point program, which is not violent, which says to defend yourself against attack. I might consider that But anything else I don't consider. So I'm still for peace, peaceful revolutionary. But I'm an artist first and a politician second.
I don't know if the article was wrong or not, but it stated you were saying in your song Revolution.
What?
That in your song Revolution,
Yeah.
you wanted to change a few of the words from count me in to count me out, or count me out
No,
to count me
I
in.
have both versions. Revolution, there's 3 versions. Number 1,
But it
number
said
2,
that-
and number 9. Number 9 is an abstract picture of revolution. Number 1 was the single because the other boys didn't like number... No, the number 2 is the single because the other boys didn't like number 1. They said it wasn't fast enough, so I made it fast. And sometimes I said, count me in, count me out. The thing I regret was making a reference to Chairman Mao, which might spoil any chances I have of going to visit China, like those ping-pong people do. I'd love to go and see what's happening there. But I wrote the Chairman Mao line in the studio because I didn't have any words. What I was trying to say to the Maoists, or anybody that wanted to change the world, why go and stand in front of a policeman with a red communist flag in your hand and a big suit and all like that, and then get hit? I thought it was unsubtle. So in the song, I wasn't putting down revolution. I was saying, isn't that a bit unsubtle? But if you want to really change the thing, do it subtly in a way that the establishment can't attack, i.e. theatre in court and or bed events, 2 virgins, things like that, things that the establishment don't understand, therefore they can't kill it.
Yeah, well, the last part of my question was...
Could we, gentleman down here now? Sorry.
You wrote a letter to the Voice in defense of Yoko as an artist.
And myself.
Yes. It was,
Yeah.
and
What is the
it was a
question?
rather strong letter.
Yeah.
And I wondered if you've regretted it since, especially in the light of the strong reaction that it has provoked.
I don't mind if a few fat liberals got excited about my letter. Some guy wrote one of the replies to the letter I wrote was, it's nice to see how well John and Yoko take to criticism. The letter wasn't criticism. It said, A, our films wouldn't be shown unless we were John and Yoko. I said, that's a lie. I think our filmmaking stands on its own. That'll be proved by them standing on their own. They've been accepted in many festivals. I don't see why Mr. Carlson can't accept them. He said Yoko was a has-been artist that was no good anyway. He's never seen her work, read her books, or seen any of our films. And instead of going into an intellectual liberal load of guff, I just told him to sod off.
And did he?
Yeah, I hope he did. I don't feel like spending... I'm not an intellectual. I'm not articulate. I'm working class, and I use few words. I use the words that the people around me used when I was a child. I talk like that. So if somebody's going to say a lot of shit, I'll say a lot of shit. It's as simple as that, you know?
It's that the way
Don't say too much shit.
Hey, how about if I go... You can insert it. This is to insert.
Yes. I'm trying to find someone where we have a microphone. Yes.
I was wondering if, like, last year we had a big thing about Paul McCartney being dead.
Yeah.
And I was wondering how much of it was planned and how much was planned by you.
It had nothing to do with me. The first, there is a rumor that he is dead, actually, but the first I heard about it was in the press, you know, or from, I don't know how it happened. It's a mystery to Paul, it was a mystery to me. None of us knew what it was about or whatever. But of course they credited it to me or Paul, saying, you know, that it was publicity seeking, and we did it. It was too far out for us to have thought of it, you know. And it wasn't a very, I don't know, it was a peculiar thing. I don't know what it was about.
Do you and Paul speak?
We have spoken. I spoke to him about an hour or so on the phone about 3 weeks ago. That was the last time I spoke. But I hugged George 2 days ago, and I sent a postcard to Ringo last week, all right?
We have a message. As I was saying, here's a short segment in which John decides to interview me and tells about his shirt and talks about mine and a couple of other things, and then we'll be moving on with Stan Freberg and right here. We're back.
Yes.
You wanted to say something about
I just wanted to
artists.
add quickly to what John said about artists and all that. Yeah. Was that, you know, artists can give some sort of, offer sense of humor to life, which relax people, and it would, you know, make people less violent and all that. And, you know, this Village Voice thing that he wrote, I thought it was beautiful because it was almost like literature, you know, the usage of words and all that was sort of, it's a fantastic vocabulary that I could never dream of having, and it's just sort of beautiful. And, you know, if you take it with a sense of humor, it was beautiful.
I love, whatever his name is, you know, Fred Siegel or something. And, yeah.
It's partly right.
Yes.
You're partly right. Now a word about the care of chapped lips and sore lips from the makers of Bliss Sticks, and we'll be right back.